Good afternoon and welcome to Europol's headquarters in The Hague and the launch of the European Centre Against Migrant Smuggling. Today, it is our great honor to welcome our distinguished panel, the members of Europol Management Board, representatives from law enforcement authorities, EU institutions and agencies, members of international media. We are grateful to have with us current and former Europol staff members whose dedication has been crucial for Europol's effective support in dismantling hundreds of migrant smuggling networks over the past years. We would also like to welcome all of you joining us online via the live stream. Today's press conference marks the launch of the European Centre Against Migrant Smuggling. Migrant smuggling is a serious form of organized crime that endangers lives and profits from vulnerable people seeking safety and a better future. These criminal networks are becoming increasingly digital, agile, and violent. Such development requires a strong and coordinated response at the European level. For the past 10 years and the launch of the European Migrant Smuggling Centre in 2016, Europol has steadily increased its support to member states in tackling these criminal networks. Today, we take that effort further. To formally introduce the vision behind ECAMS, it is my pleasure to give the floor to Madame Catherine De Bolle, Europol Executive Director.
Ladies and gentlemen, members of the Europol Management Board, members of the press, good afternoon. Today, we are marking an important milestone for the security of Europe. We are making a large step forward in the fight against migrant smuggling networks. In moments of geopolitical, social, and economic crisis, organized crime thrives. We are in such a moment, when we are facing a difficult geopolitical situation with clear implications on our common internal security. To face any further future developments, we must be prepared. In the field of security, our best preparation is the strength of our European community. Our established and long cooperation is what makes us more resilient to criminal challenges. Migrant smuggling is certainly one important threat, a serious form of organized crime that puts at risk hundreds of thousands of lives each year. Across sea and land border, towards the EU and within, criminal networks exploit vulnerability for profit, and they reinvest these criminal proceeds into other crime areas. Criminals advertise smuggling journeys online. They smuggle people across continents, from Asia to Western Europe, from Africa to Southern Europe. They move money across borders. Most of the time, they place human lives at risk. For these networks, people are not human beings. They are commodities. Their criminal business has global dimensions. This is why it is important that our alliance is also global. The European Union must respond with the full strength of coordinated law enforcement. And today, with the creation of the European Centre Against Migrant Smuggling, Europol is stepping up that response. ECAMS presents the next evolution in Europe's fight against migrant smuggling networks. It strengthens Europol's capacity to support member states and international partners in dismantling the criminal networks that profit from global crisis. It also reflects a clear strategic direction set by the European Union and provides a response that is data-driven, operationally focused, and globally connected. This is also a moment when we should recognize how far we have come. Over a decade ago, Europol established the Joint Operational Team MARE to counter dangerous criminal networks active in the Mediterranean. Then a full operational capacity was provided through the establishment of a dedicated unit, the EMSC, in 2016. Some of those who have been working in the EMSC 10 years ago are also here today. It all began with a small operational team bringing together expertise to support member states in migrant smuggling investigations. And since then, the scala of our work has grown exponentially. Since the launch of the EMSC 10 years ago, Europol has supported over 1,300 migrant smuggling operations, almost 200 just in 2025. In the past 10 years, Europol supported investigations led to thousands of arrests in migrant smuggling cases. Just in 2025, Europol's analysts and specialists have contributed to the arrest of over 460 suspected migrant smugglers. And since 2020, we have set up 20 operational task forces targeting the most dangerous migrant smuggling networks. These numbers are important, and what matters even more is what they represent. They represent networks disrupted, criminal profits cut off, and ultimately lives protected. At the same time, the threat has evolved. Migrant smuggling networks today operate with increasing complexity. They recruit migrants through social media and advertise routes online. They coordinate logistics through encrypted messaging services. They rely on complex financial infrastructures and underground banking systems that move and hide their criminal profits. And they have become more violent. In 2022, migrant smugglers were connected to the death of 3 law enforcement officers in Bulgaria. Most recently, operational information confirms that migrant smugglers are also kidnapping migrants for ransom to double their profits. This is an illustration how migrant smuggling has become even more dangerous, and it is our collective duty to act now. In recent years, migrant smuggling has become a global, digital, and highly profitable criminal business. And if we want to dismantle these networks, we must evolve just as quickly. This is precisely what ECAMS is designed to do. The European Centre Against Migrant Smuggling will significantly strengthen Europol's operational, technical, and analytical capabilities. First, ECAMS will reinforce intelligence-led and data-driven investigations. As the European Union's criminal information hub, Europol receives and analyzes intelligence for all member states and from partners around the world. Just last year, Europol processed close to 13,000 operational contributions linked to migrant smuggling. By combining this intelligence with advanced analytical tools, we can map entire criminal ecosystems. We are identifying high-value target facilitators and networks that connect them. Because dismantling migrant smuggling requires more than arresting individuals. It requires identifying and disrupting the networks behind them. Second, ECAMS will strengthen our response to the digital dimension of migrant smuggling. Today, smugglers operate increasingly online. They advertise illegal journeys on social media. They coordinate movements through encrypted platforms. And through initiatives such as DigiNex, Europol is coordinating advanced operational activities to monitor, to detect and investigate migrant smuggling activities online. Third, we must attack the business model of migrant smuggling. Let us be clear, migrant smuggling, like most organized crime, is driven by profit. Criminal networks generate enormous revenues by exploiting vulnerable people. In many cases, migrants can pay up to 20,000 euros and even more to reach their final destination via a dangerous journey from their home country. These profits are reinvested to expanding illegal operations and strengthening criminal infrastructures. This is why Europol will also strengthen its capacities to support financial investigations. And fourth, ECAMS will deepen operational cooperation across internal and external EU borders. Migrant smuggling operates along complex routes that often begin far beyond the European Union and extend across multiple regions. That is why it is crucial to work closely with countries of origin and transit, with international organizations, and with law enforcement partners from around the world. Strengthening partnerships is a must to stop criminal networks acting globally. ECAMS will also reinforce Europol's on-the-ground support through the coordination of our network of guest offices. Based in our headquarters, the Joint Migrant Smuggling Action Team will be bringing together liaison officers from member states and partner countries to coordinate intelligence and to coordinate investigations. And finally, we must not forget the importance of prevention and awareness. Many migrants are misled by criminal networks that promise safe journeys and better opportunities. The reality is often very different. Dangerous crossings in low-quality inflatable boats or freezing lorries. Trips of hundreds of kilometers in car trucks. Mistreatment and kidnappings. And in too many cases, tragic loss of life. Therefore, it is of utmost importance that we work together with countries of origin and transit. We must raise awareness of the risks migrants face when using smugglers to travel across jurisdiction. It is also crucial to inform about the many legal pathways available for migration and seeking shelter within the EU. The launch of ECAMS is a signal of Europe's determination to treat migrant smuggling as what it truly is: serious organized crime that often costs lives and earns from it. A determination to support member states in working together, a determination to ensure that criminal networks exploiting vulnerable people are held accountable. And looking ahead, our ambition is clear. We will continue to strengthen Europol's analytical capabilities. We will expand digital investigation, and we will deepen international partnerships. And we will support member states in dismantling the criminal networks behind migrant smuggling across borders, across routes, and across the digital environment. Security in Europe depends on strong cooperation and readiness. With the launch of ECAMS, we are getting more prepared to face current and future challenges. Thank you.
Thank you, Executive Director, for setting the scene and outlining the major step that the creation of ECAMS represent. We are now welcoming Mr. Themistos Arnaoutis, Chief of Cyprus Police, who will share the priorities and commitments of the EU presidency in strengthening the fight against migrant smuggling.
Honorable Executive Director of Europol, Ms. Catherine Dembole, Director for Internal Security of the Directorate General for Migration and Home Affairs, Ms. Florana Sibala, Executive Director of Frontex, Mr. Hans Leitens, Chair and members of the Europol Management Board, ladies and gentlemen, members of the press, good afternoon. Today marks an important moment for European security. The launch of the European Centre Against Migrant Smuggling within Europol represents a decisive operational step for the European Union. The Centre enhances Europe's ability to prevent and combat migrant smuggling and trafficking in human beings through strengthened strategic, operational and technical support, reinforced cooperation, a faster, more reliable information exchange among member states. This development comes at a time of heightened instability in our wider region. International reporting has underscored how the ongoing conflict in the Middle East has placed Cyprus on Europe's security radar, including references to hostile activity affecting the UK bases on the island. For law enforcement, such instability is not abstract. Regional conflict creates displacement pressures, expands vulnerabilities, and generates opportunities for criminal facilitators who exploit people in desperate circumstances. Cyprus is directly affected due to its strategic geographical position in the Eastern Mediterranean. The European Commission's action plan for the Eastern Mediterranean route notes that Greece and Cyprus faced particularly acute migratory pressures. During the January-August 2023 reference period, both arrivals to the government-controlled areas of Cyprus more than doubled. Separate analyses highlight continued sea arrivals from Lebanon and warn that further regional escalation may lead to increased movement along this route. From a policing standpoint, the key message is clear. Migrant smuggling is serious organized crime. It is not spontaneous movement. It's clear. Europol's latest SOCTA assessment describes a rapidly evolving crime landscape, progressively destabilizing, increasingly online, and amplified by artificial intelligence and emerging technologies. Hybrid threat actors instrumentalizing migration flows and further expand opportunities for smuggling networks, which remain flexible, scalable, and digitally enabled. This is precisely why Europol's enhanced capability is essential. According to the latest European Migrant Smuggling Centre annual report, the Centre dismantles complex networks by providing member states with expert operational support, secure and rapid information exchange, and coordination in cross-border investigations. Key trends identified include globalized networks with leadership often outside the EU, capable of remaining operational even when parts are disrupted. Digital exploitation, including AI-generated advertisements, encrypted communication platforms, online recruitment, and increased use of cryptocurrencies. Violence as a business model involving threats, kidnappings, beatings, sexual abuse and torture, targeting both migrants and law enforcement. For Cyprus, these tools are not theoretical. They are operational necessities. Our geography places us along a route where pressure can intensify quickly. The EU Action Plan sets out priorities such as preventing irregular departures, combating smuggling networks, strengthening border management, and improving returns and readmission cooperation, always in full respect of EU and international law and fundamental rights. Therefore, our national policing response must continue to be intelligence-led, cross-border in coordination, legally robust. focused on organizers, facilitators, logistics, document fraud networks, and criminal financial flows, while ensuring that vulnerable persons are identified and protected. Finally, this work is framed within a wider institutional context. Cyprus currently holds the presidency of the Council of the European Union, a role that brings intensified operational responsibilities, increased visibility, and heightened security expectations for our country. In this environment, strong European cooperation through Europol and through structures such as this new center is not only beneficial, it is indispensable. In this framework, I wish to highlight that on the 5th and 6th of June, the city of Larnaca, Cyprus, will host the meeting of chiefs and heads of migrant smuggling law enforcement authorities from Mediterranean EU countries. This high-level meeting is organized by Europol in close coordination with the Cypriot presidency, and it reflects our shared commitment to strengthening operational cooperation and addressing migrant smuggling at a strategic regional level. This meeting will bring together senior leadership and operational heads from Mediterranean member states, including Cyprus, France, Greece, Italy, Malta, and Spain, countries that are directly impacted by migrant smuggling flows across the Mediterranean Sea. The objective of this meeting is clear and practical. Building on a shared understanding of the threat landscape, we aim to explore concrete strategic solutions and translate them into operational outcomes. This includes enhancing cooperation, strengthening coordination, and making full use of existing and emerging platforms, particularly those offered by Europol, including ECAMS. The meeting will also serve as a stage to reinforce operational synergy among participating countries, encourage the use of joint investigation teams, and promote intelligence-led policing approaches tailored to the Mediterranean context. Cyprus is honored to host this important gathering and remains committed to facilitating meaningful dialogue and practical cooperation among member states. Let me conclude with a clear message. Smuggling networks exploit instability, geography, and technology. Europe's response must be faster, more connected, and more intelligence-driven than the networks we are targeting. The European Center Against Migrant Smuggling at Europol strengthens precisely that capability. Thank you. Ευχαριστώ.
Thank you. We will continue with a message from Mr. Magnus Brunner, EU Commissioner for Internal Affairs and Migration, addressing the European Union's broader efforts and strategic direction taken against migrant smuggling.
This January, the Bulgarian authorities took down a migrant smuggling operation resulting in 16 arrests and the seizure of valuable evidence. An expert from Europol was on the ground in Sofia, and colleagues in The Hague supported the operation in real time with analysis and database checks. I know this is only a part of all that you do, but it is a crucial part, because we know that this smuggling operation was part of a far-reaching network that links to organized crime. Migrant smuggling is behind more than 90% of illegal arrivals in Europe. Smugglers deprive migrants of their dignity, often their freedom, and sometimes even their lives. All in the name of profit and the cost of the most vulnerable. For Europe, fighting the smugglers is more than just a political imperative. It is a moral duty. We will go after their money, disrupt them online, and stop them at our borders. And with new sanctions targeting those who are beyond our jurisdiction, we will give the smugglers nowhere to hide. The new European Centre Against Migrant Smuggling will be at the front line of these efforts, with more resources and improved cooperation across our borders and beyond. It will allow us to deploy more experts and provide more forensic support. For the work you have already done, thank you very much. And for the work you will do, I wish you all success. We count on you. And of course, you can count on our support.
To complement this message and to provide further insights into the European strategy, I invite Madame Floriana Sipala, Director for Internal Security, EU Commission's Directorate General for Migration and Home Affairs.
Thank you. Dear Executive Director, dear Chief of the Cyprus Police, dear Executive Director of Frontex, dear colleagues, dear members of the Management Board, let me start by saying that it's a real pleasure for me to be able to join you today for the launch of a new Center Against Migrant Smuggling at Europol. You heard very clear and loudly by Commissioner Brunner just a few minutes ago, for the European Union, fighting migrant smuggling is not only a political priority, it's a moral duty. And that's why we are all together today, and that's why the Center will start working as of today. For more than 2 decades already, Europol has been at the forefront of supporting member states in tackling migrant smuggling. The reality that we face today, and this has been rightly highlighted by the Executive Director of Europol in her speech, the reality that we are facing today makes these efforts of Europol more necessary than ever, because the reality shows that a lot of things, a lot of criminal activities are changing, that criminal networks are becoming more sophisticated, more adaptable, that they increasingly exploit digital tools, and that they are able to build on very complex financial schemes to further expand their activities and their profits. All this demanded a step change on how the European Union is able to respond, bringing together the expertise and the support that we have at EU level. And that's exactly why we are gathered all here today, because with the recent legislative development, the European Union has been able to substantially reinforce Europol's role at the center of a more coordinated and operative EU response, working very closely hand in hand with important partners and agencies such as Frontex and Eurojust, and bringing together all its tools and all its expertise to the front line. With a new center, which is being launched today, operational capacity will be reinforced. The center will be able to support complex investigations and deepen cooperation across borders. The digital dimension, mentioned rightly several times by all of us, is key in all this, as much as it is key to go after the money and to deprive these criminals from the huge profits that they do, exploiting the wish of people to reach the shores of Europe. We have indeed now a new possibility which is offered by the Center, and I would like to recall here today in front of all of you that this achievement is the result of a very strong and collective efforts, a very strong and collective commitments. I would like to acknowledge, of course, the important role played by the agency, by Europol, and also thank and acknowledge all the work which has been done by the successive presidencies of the Council that have been dealing with the legislative amendments in the Council fora, as well as by the European Parliament that, as co-legislator, has approved the text that has allowed the birth, the creation of this centre. Let me also underline that the center is a fundamental part of a broader efforts, and the Global Alliance Against the Smuggling of Migrants and Trafficking in Human Beings is the part that brings together the efforts of the European Union with the efforts of partner countries. The Global Alliance, launched by President von der Leyen, which has had already 2 successful ministerial conferences, brings together many partners around the world that are willing, that are demanding of cooperating with the European Union to face this challenge that exploits again the vulnerabilities of so many people across the globe. The joint declaration that was presented by the Commission at the last conference held in December was endorsed by not less than 61 partners, and is still open, is supported by international organizations and many countries, not only in the Mediterranean, but also beyond in Africa and in Asia. And this is really part of our work on smuggling of migrants and trafficking in human beings, because international cooperation is not an option, it's simply essential in this important endeavor. Let me conclude by congratulating Europol on this important milestone. The creation of the center, the establishment of the center sends a very clear message. We are stepping up our efforts together to dismantle migrant smuggling networks and to better protect the most vulnerable. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madame Sipala. Our final speaker will highlight how cooperation between different EU agencies reinforces the collective response. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Heinz Leitens, Executive Director of Frontex, to outline synergies at EU level.
Well, thank you for reminding me that I'm last in line, so I can be brief. Thank you, first of all, for the invitation to speak on this important topic here today. But first of all, I want to say, and before anything else, Catherine. The partnership between Frontex and Europol, I think, has never been stronger than today. And it is to no small part thanks to your personal commitment. And I would like to thank you from the bottom of my heart. And we will dearly miss you in the law enforcement community, at least on the European level. Having said that, let's look at the challenge we are facing. Migrant smuggling, it has been mentioned already, is organized crime, and it's ruthless. In 2025, we have seen a decrease of irregular border crossings in Europe with 26%, which is the lowest level since 2021. And of course, this is a very significant development. However, the criminal networks behind those crossings have not ceased, have not weakened. Actually, they are evolving. And let me give you one example. At the Central Mediterranean right now, smugglers use high-speed boats with engines with more than 100 horsepower, sometimes equipped with Starlink satellite navigation, and specifically to outrun our Coast Guard patrols. On the Western Mediterranean, they recruit on TikTok and coordinate simultaneous departures to overwhelm border authorities. And already mentioned by our Cypriot colleague, payments increasingly run through cryptocurrency and digital platforms. I think it is clear these networks adapt quickly, including in the use of technology. And if we do not match that adaptability through closer cooperation, we fall behind. I would almost say we fail. Underlying all of this is also a profound human cost. The International Organization for Migration estimates that at least 1,878 people lost their lives in the Mediterranean last year. That is why we have to go after the networks that profit from human vulnerability, and that's why there is no place for complacency. So what does the partnership deliver? Frontex sees the border. Europol sees the criminal networks behind it. And ECAMS brings those two pictures together in a more systemic way so that Europe can respond better, together, and within our respective mandates. Frontex right now has 3,500 officers deployed at over 400 locations across Europe and beyond. And that presence gives us real-time visibility across multiple routes. One could say our officers are Europol's eyes and ears at the borders. What they detect, Europol can investigate. What Europol uncovers, we can act on operationally. And ECAMS makes this loop tighter and faster. Of course, we already know what joint action delivers. In 2025, through 6 coordinated impact operations, together we arrested 134 smugglers, detected over 560 false documents, and refused entry to nearly 5,000 people. That is what happens when agencies combine their strength in a more systemic way. And we do this within our mandate and with respect for the rights and dignity of the people we encounter. That is not a constraint on our effectiveness. It is part of why we are trusted to do this work. So why ECAMS matters? ECAMS builds indeed on what the European Migrant Smuggling Center has been doing for years, for a decade right now. What changes is the structure. More systemic coordination, a clearer mandate, a stronger legal basis, and more resources. Frontex will deploy expertise in ECAMS. This present is not symbolic. It is operational. It ensures that the border picture feeds directly into the criminal intelligence picture. Frontex and Europol each hold pieces of a jigsaw, but they come from different boxes. Our piece shows the border, who crosses, where, how. Europol's piece shows the criminal network, who profits, how they operate, and where the money goes. Separately, neither puzzle makes sense. ECAMS is where we put the pieces on the same table and where we put together the jigsaw. On closing, the Pact on Migration and Asylum starts to apply in June. The expectations on all of us are growing. ECAMS gives us a more joined-up way of working at exactly the moment we need it. The title today is From Commitment to Action. The commitment was always there. What ECAMS gives us is a structure that makes us more systemic, more sustained, and more effective in practice. The smugglers are organized, and we need to be more organized. And today is a big step in that direction. Thank you.
Thank you to all our speakers. Allow me to open the floor to our Q&A session. We will take only questions on the topic of the conference. We will begin with questions from the room, and then if time allows it, we will give that possibility to our attendees online. For viewers online, please use the QR code on your screens to send your questions while mentioning your name and your media outlet. Coming back to the room, please raise your hand and introduce yourself and your media organization before asking your question.
Hello, this is Romana Abels, Trouw newspaper, the Netherlands. Could you please provide us with some numbers? How many people at ECAMS? How much money? Where are they going to work? So, yeah, please, the numbers. Do you have them?
More on the resources, on a global scale, the exact figures we can also provide you after the conference if you're really looking into very exact figures. But maybe on the overall resources and structure.
Yes, thank you for your question. We will triple, in fact, the resources, the human resources here at Europol. And we will, together with the Commission, it has been discussed, so we will focus on specialized people in migration so that they know the crime area we have to deal with, seconded from member states here in the Europol headquarters. So triple the resources. Second, what will be very important is a possibility to work more with biometrics. which is also an important step for the agency. Financial investigations are clearly identified in the new legal framework as a key area where Europol in this crime area needs to invest in more, and we are very grateful to that because it's all about the money. And then the intelligence-led policing will be very important. So we will look at the underlying schemes that will be investigated by our teams, and the online aspect of migration, illegal migration and migrant smuggling will be very important. So we will increase our capacities when we talk about OSINT also in this area. So a new way of working related to fight migrant smuggling and also trafficking in human beings, because it's not only about migrant smuggling, but it's also about strengthening the fight against trafficking in human beings that we will tackle even more with more resources in the future.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from the room? No? Then we can take a couple of questions from the attendees online. Maybe one for the Cyprus police chief. What does the launch of ECAMS say about the EU's current priorities on migrant smuggling and security?
Thank you. For us, ECAMS means faster access to intelligence, high-quality analysis, and direct operational support in cross-border investigations. It is a clear force multiplier for all member states. For us, it's an important and essential tool to combat migrant smuggling. Thank you.
Thank you. And then one question we have for Frontex Executive Director. Frontex operates at the EU's external borders while Europol focuses on criminal investigations. How will cooperation with ECAMS strengthen the link between border management and dismantling migrant smuggling networks?
Well, thank you. I think, first of all, it is absolutely clear that both agencies are complementary. We have a clear task, a clear focus, and I really would like to keep this focus too, meaning that we work together with Europol as being our sister agency, following up the things we see. I already mentioned in my short intervention that we consider ourselves being eyes and ears of national authority, but also of Europol. We have a small challenge on data exchange, but I'm pretty sure that will be resolved in the future. But I think it's very important that it's a two-way street. So on one hand, we are delivering input to understand the phenomena better, to enable Europol and national agencies to investigate, to fight the networks. On the other hand, the more information we have, we can give to our people in briefings, the better we can look and the more precise we can intervene. I must emphasize our main role is border management. We are not an investigative agency. We do not envision to be one. So again, our most important task, as also depicted in our mandate, is to protect external borders.
Thank you. And we have another question for Europol Executive Director from Louise Chahounot from Le Parisien. Who is going to lead ECAMS and how will it work with national police forces such as the Office for Combating the Smuggling of Migrants in France?
So in the first period in time, it will be the head of department, Andy Kraak, who will be in charge of ECAMS. We also launched a vacancy notice, so an appeal to all possible candidates now. ECAMS will work together with the national law enforcement authorities in the same way as we do with other centers at Europol. This means that we have the criminal information hub, so we need to have information related to trafficking in human beings and to migrant smuggling. And we will reach out and look with member states together, in this case with France, what are the expectations of France, what can be our role in the investigation. For instance, online monitoring of certain groups can be in the loop. Specific tools, forensic tools, can be put at the disposal of France. For instance, a liaison officer can be seconded to France to support the national authorities in the fight against a migrant smuggling network. So it will be important that together with the member states we will have a good and a clear view on the network, and then we will try to disrupt and to dismantle the network that is behind the migrant smuggling activities.
Thank you. And then we can maybe have another question from the same journalist from Le Parisien. Is Europol monitoring the use of migrant flows to destabilize certain countries, particularly in Eastern Europe and the Baltic states?
The monitoring is done by Frontex and Europol together, so that we have a good common view on European level about what is happening in Europe and at the borders.
Yeah, I think it's safe to conclude that almost all of the irregular border crossing at the eastern border are, let's say, organized not by criminal gangs but by state actors. And I see the Polish colleague in the room; he can for sure acknowledge that. So it's clearly a different phenomena, I would say, than, for example, what we see in Southern Europe.
Thank you. And you have also a question for the Commission, Madame Sipala. What makes the new EU migrant smuggling approach different from previous efforts?
I think, as many of us have underlined during the previous intervention, what is different is really the fact of bringing all the actors together and on a daily basis. So this is not a joint operation of Europol and Frontex that will happen one or twice per year. It's really a structured form of cooperation and as has been underlined, is a really factual and a very operational response that will be provided together. And this also brings together the member states, but also liaison officer of third countries. So we have really the possibility in a dedicated center to concentrate on the crime that we want to prevent and to fight. Other added value is, of course, the new resources that have been allocated to the agency to set up this network by the Council and the Parliament. And third added value is, of course, the strong emphasis on digital, which is the new form, which is more and more used, and the strong will to seize and confiscate the assets of these criminal networks.
Thank you. We have a question from Anonymous. Has the possibility of establishing a satellite office of ECAMS in the Mediterranean region to support member states under pressure taken into consideration? So is that possibility taken under consideration, and is Cyprus ready to host? Is the question of our journalist.
Okay. If Europol and Frontex decide to support this possibility, we are ready to host, of course. I mean, because it's on our favor in order to have this tool in our hands to combat migrant smuggling. Thank you.
Thank you.
Perhaps I can also add something, if you don't mind.
Oh, please.
I think it's very important also to underline how important the cooperation with the member states is, because at least it applies to Frontex, but I think also for Europol, we are supporting the member states. So you're in the driver's seat, and it's very important that you indeed detail out what your needs are, because the better member states or third countries are able to detail their needs, the better the agencies can respond. And indeed, I think in both cases, but also the same applies to the European Asylum Agency, we are able to also deploy officers in the field to really work shoulder to shoulder with the national officers. So that I think is an important asset. We are, let's say, okay, one foot I would say standing in the European bureaucracy, but both of us are really operational agencies, and that is, I think, delivering a lot of added value.
Thank you. One question from Emily from Belga Press Agency. In which way will you work more with biometrics? So that, I believe, would be for Europol Executive Director.
Biometrics are extremely important for the identification of perpetrators, and to have access to biometrics to be sure that we will have the right people and that we are behind the right people, it will be extremely important. Biometrics is a key priority for the European Commission to provide us with the right legal framework to make use of biometrics in the law enforcement community. So the usage of biometrics will only grow, and the possibilities to go behind the right identities will be more efficient in the future.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us today and for your continued interest in and engagement on this important topic. The launch of ECAMS marks a new phase of Europe's response to migrant smuggling. This new approach will reinforce and expand Europol's operational support, and it will deepen international cooperation to tackle the growing threat that criminal networks offline and online are posing today. Well, this concludes our press conference for today. Thank you and have a good day.